My brother hadn't spoken to me in 7 years. Not a birthday. Not a Christmas. Not even when our father died. So when the doors to my wedding reception suddenly opened and I saw him standing there, I knew something was wrong. He wasn't holding a gift. He wasn't smiling. He didn't even look at my bride. He walked straight toward me. And then he said something that made the entire room go silent. "I need your kidney." I stared at him, thinking I had misheard. "What?" He swallowed. "I'll pay you." That's when I realized he wasn't joking. He had actually come to my wedding to ask me to sell him one of my kidneys. And the amount he offered wasn't small. It was $150,000. But there was something he didn't know. 7 years earlier, I had already made a decision about my brother. And that decision had nothing to do with money. And my brother, Marcus, is 3 years older than me. Growing up, Marcus was the kind of person everyone loved. He was confident, funny, popular. Teachers liked him. Relatives adored him. Whenever we went somewhere together, people would naturally gravitate toward him. I was the quiet one. The responsible one. The kid who would rather stay home and raid than sneak out at midnight. For most of my childhood, I didn't mind being different from him. Because despite our differences, Marcus was still my brother. When we were kids, he used to defend me. If someone at school made fun of me, Marcus would show up. If I was scared at night, he'd sit beside my bed. Once, when I was 12, I got lost at a crowded fair. I remember crying near one of the food stalls. Marcus found me almost an hour later. He hugged me so hard I could barely breathe. "I'll always find you," he told me. I believed him. I believed that was what brothers were supposed to do. Until we grew up. Then everything changed. Marcus became obsessed with money. Not just having enough. Having more than everyone else. He started a business with some friends in his 20s. At first, it looked successful. He bought expensive clothes. Then an expensive car. Then a bigger apartment. Whenever our parents visited him, he'd show them something new. A television. A watch. A renovated kitchen. Meanwhile, I was working an ordinary job and saving whatever I could. Marcus used to tease me about it. "You'll be 50 before you can afford anything nice." I'd laugh. "At least I'll own it." He'd shake his head. "You think too small." I didn't understand then how serious he was. Marcus didn't just want money. He wanted the life he thought money could buy. And eventually, that desire destroyed our family. Our father had a small construction company. Nothing huge. But he'd spent 30 years building it. After our mother died, Dad depended heavily on both of us. Marcus wanted to expand the company. I wanted to keep it stable. We argued about it constantly. Marcus wanted loans. New properties. More employees. Bigger contracts. I thought it was too risky. One night, Dad called me. His voice sounded exhausted. "Daniel, I need you to come over." When I arrived, Marcus was already there. Dad had discovered that Marcus had taken money from the company account. A lot of money. Nearly $80,000. Marcus said it was an investment. Dad said it was theft. The argument became ugly. Marcus accused Dad of never believing in him. Dad told him to leave. Marcus looked at me. "Say something." I asked him where the money went. He didn't answer. Instead, he said something I'll never forget. "You're just jealous because Dad trusts me more." That was the moment I realized something had changed. This wasn't about money anymore. Marcus didn't see me as his little brother. He saw me as competition. The following month, Dad removed Marcus from the business. And that's when Marcus blamed me. He told everyone I had turned Dad against him. I hadn't. But he didn't care. He stopped speaking to me. At first, I thought it would pass. It didn't. 1 year became 2. Then 3. Then 7. He'd moved. He'd started another business. He'd gotten married. Then divorced. Then started another business. Some things were true. Some weren't. Eventually, I stopped asking. I built my own life. I met Emily. She was everything Marcus wasn't. Patient. Kind. Grounded. When I told her about my brother, she never judged him. She simply said, "Maybe one day you'll both be ready to talk." I didn't think that day would ever come. Then I proposed. Emily said yes. We planned a small wedding. Nothing extravagant. Just family. Close friends. People who had actually been part of our lives. And I made one decision. Marcus wasn't invited. Some people might think that was cruel. But I didn't want him there. Not after 7 years of silence. Not on the day I was starting a new family. I didn't want old wounds reopening. And for a while, everything went perfectly. Until Marcus walked through those doors. He looked different. Older. Tired. His expensive clothes were gone. His hair was thinner. There were dark circles beneath his eyes. But I recognized him immediately. Emily saw him too. She grabbed my arm. "Daniel." "I know." Marcus walked toward us. People began whispering. My uncle stood up. My aunt looked confused. Nobody understood why he was there. Marcus stopped in front of me. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then he looked at Emily. "I'm sorry for interrupting." Emily said nothing. Marcus looked back at me. "I wouldn't be here if I had another option." I almost laughed. "Then why are you here?" His eyes dropped. "I need a kidney." The room went completely silent. I stared at him. He continued. "My kidneys are failing." I didn't know what to say. For the first time since he'd entered the room, I saw fear in his face. Real fear. Not arrogance. Not anger. Fear. Then he reached into his jacket. He pulled out an envelope. And placed it on the table. "I can give you $150,000. I looked at the envelope. Then at him. "You came to my wedding to buy my kidney?" "I came because you're my brother." I almost smiled. 7 years. He looked confused. "What?" 7 years, Marcus." He said nothing. "You couldn't call me for 7 years." "I know. You didn't come when Dad died." His face tightened. "I know. You didn't send flowers." I was ashamed. "You didn't even ask how I was." I was angry. "And now you need something from me." He looked down. Yes. There it was. The truth. He didn't come back because he missed me. He came because he needed something. We went into a small side room. Marcus sat across from us. He explained everything. His kidneys were failing. He'd been diagnosed months earlier. He needed a transplant. His doctors had told him a close relative might be the best match. He had already been tested. Apparently, I had a reasonable chance of being compatible. And then came the part that made me realize just how desperate he was. He didn't just want me to donate. He wanted me to accept money. Why? I asked. Because I know you won't do it for me. I stared at him. So you thought you'd buy me? He looked embarrassed. I thought it would make it fair. Fair? He nodded. I know what I did. Do you? Yes. Then tell me. He looked at the floor. I stole from Dad. Keep going. I blamed you. Keep going. I told people you betrayed me. He swallowed. I said things about you that weren't true. And? I didn't come to Dad's funeral. His voice cracked. And I should have. For a second, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Pity. Not forgiveness. Just pity. Because Marcus finally looked like the little boy I remembered. The boy who used to sit beside my bed. The boy who once promised he'd always find me. But then I remembered something. He had found me. He just hadn't come looking until he needed something. I asked him where the $150,000 came from. He hesitated. Marcus. My house. You sold your house? No. Then where? He looked away. My business. What business? I don't have one anymore. I stared at him. He admitted that his latest company had collapsed. He was drowning in debt. The money he offered me wasn't really his. It was borrowed. If I agreed to donate my kidney, he would use part of the money to pay his debts after the transplant. I couldn't believe it. You aren't offering me $150,000. He looked at me. You're offering me borrowed money. He didn't answer. And you're planning to use part of it to save your business? I have creditors. You came here to risk my health so you could get your life back. That's not what I'm doing. Isn't it? He started crying. I don't want to die. Those words stopped me. Because despite everything, he was still my brother. I couldn't hate him for being afraid of death. But I also couldn't let his fear decide what happened to my body. It's surgery. There are complications. Recovery. Long-term considerations. And most importantly, nobody should be pressured into it. The doctor looked directly at me. Whatever decision you make, it needs to be yours. That sentence stayed with me. Because suddenly I realized what Marcus had been trying to do. Maybe he didn't think he was manipulating me. Maybe he was desperate. But desperation doesn't give someone ownership over another person's body. That night, I didn't sleep. Emily sat beside me. You don't have to do this. I know. But you're thinking about it. I nodded. He is my brother. And you're his. I looked at her. She took my hand. But being his brother doesn't mean you owe him your kidney. I didn't answer. She continued. You can love someone and still say no. That was the sentence I needed to hear. I knew you wouldn't abandon me. I looked at him. I haven't agreed. His smile disappeared. I've thought about it. And? No. He stared at me. What? No. His face changed instantly. The fear disappeared. The old Marcus came back. You can't do this. I can. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. I'm your brother. And you're asking me to undergo major surgery because you need a kidney. Because I'm dying. I know. So how can you just say no? I looked at him. How did you say no? He froze. To what? To me. His face went blank. 7 years ago. I continued. Every birthday. Every holiday. Dad's funeral. You had 7 years to be my brother. You chose not to. And now you're standing here demanding that I prove I'm yours. He didn't speak. Then he said something I wasn't expecting. I was wrong. I shook my head. You were. I'm sorry. I believe you. He looked surprised. But I'm still saying no. 3 days later, I received a call from my aunt. She was furious. How could you do that to your brother? I asked what she meant. He's dying. I know. He needs you. I know. You're his only chance. I closed my eyes. No. I'm not. She didn't understand. You're his brother. That doesn't make my kidney his property. She started crying. You'll regret this. Maybe. But I knew something. Regret would be easier to live with than resentment. Because if I donated that kidney under pressure, every argument we ever had would eventually come back. Every sacrifice. Every pain. Every moment I'd been guilted into something. I didn't want my kidney to become another weapon between us. I almost didn't answer. But I did. His voice sounded different. Calmer. Daniel? Yes. I got a transplant. I sat up. What? They found a donor. I didn't know how to respond. He continued. It wasn't a family member. Are you okay? I'm alive. I smiled. Good. There was a long silence. Then he said, I need to tell you something. What? The money I offered you. I waited. It wasn't really about money. I know. No. His voice cracked. You don't. He explained that when he first received his diagnosis, he panicked. He thought he'd lose everything. His business. His home. His life. And he became obsessed with finding a way out. Then he remembered me. Not because I was his brother. But because I was the person he'd always believed would eventually forgive him. That hurt more than anything. I thought if I paid you, I wouldn't have to admit I needed you. I didn't say anything. He continued. I was too proud to ask my brother for help. So you tried to buy it? Yes. Another silence. Then he said, I'm sorry. This time, I believed him. Inside was an old photograph. It was from the fair where he'd found me when I was 12. We were both covered in ice cream. I barely recognized myself. Marcus laughed. I found it at Dad's place. I looked at the picture. You remember what you told me that day? He nodded. I'll always find you. I smiled sadly. You didn't. He looked down. I know. Then he said, but I'm here now. For the first time, I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel obligated. I didn't feel like I owed him anything. I simply felt tired. Took you long enough. He laughed. Then he cried. And eventually, so did I. We didn't magically become best friends. We didn't pretend 7 years hadn't happened. We didn't erase what he'd done. But we started talking. Slowly. Carefully. One conversation at a time. I stared at it for a long time. Then I asked why. His response came a few minutes later. Because if you had said yes, I would have spent the rest of my life believing I was entitled to your sacrifice. I didn't know what to say. Then another message appeared. You taught me something. What? Being family doesn't mean you get to take from someone. I smiled. That was the first time I knew he'd actually changed. Not because he'd apologized. Not because he'd needed me. But because he'd finally understood the difference between love and entitlement. I used to think forgiveness meant letting someone back into your life exactly where they left it. I don't believe that anymore. Sometimes forgiveness means accepting that someone hurt you. Understanding why they did it. And deciding you don't want to carry that anger anymore. But forgiveness doesn't mean surrendering your boundaries. It doesn't mean letting someone hurt you again. And it certainly doesn't mean giving someone a piece of yourself simply because you're related. Marcus didn't need my kidney. He needed to understand that he couldn't buy forgiveness. And I needed to understand that saying no didn't make me cruel. It made me honest. Our relationship survived. But it survived because, for the first time, neither of us was pretending. He stopped expecting me to save him. And I stopped waiting for him to become the brother I remembered. We met somewhere in the middle. Not as the brothers we used to be, but as two adults who had finally learned what family was supposed to mean. Sometimes the hardest verdict isn't the one you give someone else. It's the one you give yourself. And mine was simple. I could forgive my brother without giving him my kidney. And for the first time in 7 years, that was enough. This is Calm Verdict Stories. Sometimes justice isn't revenge. Sometimes it's simply learning when to say no.